Bucks have taken the lead with 106 left to play.
To the end zone, touchdown.
This young man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast, Inside the Climb, brought to you by Aztec Link and the We Believe Network. And as always, make sure you guys subscribe to our Substack for frequent updates. I'm Kylie Freeland, and alongside me, our other co-host, Jack Powers, and joining us, as always, Sam Popper and Caleb Davis. Welcome, gentlemen.
What have you guys been up to? Tell us what's going on. Why are we
Caleb,
on?
Caleb, have you mastered the Italian language yet?
No, not even close. So actually, not in Italy just yet. We're in Switzerland right now,
Ooh.
on a little town called Lauterbrunnen. I didn't really hit it with the accent right, but we'll be down in Italy starting tomorrow. But traveling overseas, kind of taking our vacation time as we get it, and then cause shoot, as soon as we get back, we're right into the full-time grind of fall camp and football season.
So were you watching the Switzerland World Cup game
I
yesterday?
was just about to ask that.
So it was actually really cool. I was in this little pub, literally 10 steps from our hotel, and met this other couple that's from the States that we were sitting in the pub watching the Switzerland soccer game in Switzerland. Met this other dude from Australia, so it was like a once in a lifetime, really, really cool thing. They end up winning in PKs, but unfortunately we didn't make it that long because the game didn't kick off till 10 p.m. our time. But
I
yeah, man,
forgot.
it's been a legit bucket list trip. A lot of fun. Still fielding a bunch of phone calls and different things from the offices back 9 hours back. But as life is in football, you're never fully on vacation, no matter where you might be.
That sure is true. Sam, what have you been up to?
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, so yesterday I went to go return a package from Amazon, and at the place that you return it at was like, it's kind of, I don't know, a little like hole in the wall. I didn't know it was really like an Amazon shop until I like checked online, and saw that it was. So I go in, and then around the corner, there was kind of like this kind of hidden like bar in like this alley. And
Little
so I just wanted
speakeasy?
to like walk and go see it because it kind of looked, somewhat mysterious. And as I walk in, I realized that it was this like Colombian like watch party for the game. So
Hmm.
all these people, there must have been like 70 people like scrunched into this bar. It looked like an awesome place, and it was like right near my spot. Like I wish I would have like gone and watched the game there. But like it was 30 minutes after the match, so they were all like super sad, because Colombia just
Hmm.
lost. So it's kind of a brutal atmosphere in there for a little bit, but like that was kind of my one like little like way to
So
kind of see the
kind of
World Cup
polar
like from the other
opposites.
side. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So you've
But
been
it's been
returning
good.
Amazon packages recently.
Yeah, that's the first time I've actually ever done that. I didn't know the whole like QR code like thing in your Apple
Oh,
Wallet
wow.
existed. Like that's a really cool system. Uh, so maybe at some point in the future I will again. But my vacation's been good. My family, my parents, my brother, his girlfriend, and mine, like the six of us, we hung out this past week. My parents got like a little spot in like the Mission Beach area, which was awesome. So that was really cool to kind of see everybody and like show them around. And so we spent a little bit of time on the beach because for me and my dad, like that's our favorite place in the world, so we could just kind of like spend all day there. So we compromised for, the rest of the group and only spend like a little bit of the day there, instead of the entire day. But we went around, did some cool stuff, a lot going on like July 4th. That place was a trip.
Yeah.
Random
It's
people
rocking.
setting off fireworks at various locations that around the sand, at 9 p.m. Like that was kind of wild. You would just hear like boom, boom, and like I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But that was really fun. It was a really cool experience. And then now I've kind of gotten back to a little bit of work this week. And then I'll go to the East Coast for 3 days, see my grandfather next week, and then like Caleb said, rock and roll.
There we go. Looks like you guys are having some fun. First time in a
Yeah, it's
while.
been really good. Recharging the batteries, that's for sure.
There we
Yes.
go.
There's no doubt.
Well,
There's no doubt.
I would hate to put it on work, but I am gonna put it on work. What is the plan coming up here as you guys kind of transition back here soon, and what's keeping you guys busy with work? while you're even on vacation.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing throughout, like, okay, post summer transition into post vacation, you're kind of actually getting ready for a lot of the behind the scenes things that people don't realize go on, and that might be getting some kids onboarded, starting to work with some of these high school athletes about, hey, what classes they be taking if they want to be early enrollees. And there's a whole bunch of these little things, all while you're kind of finishing the loose ends on your recruiting class from the summer, while also starting to pick it up and get ready for the next cycle. So for us, it's kind of finishing up the 27 class while starting to kind of expand focus on the 28 class and working on long-term projects that you kind of want to keep on finding ways to get better throughout it. Sam, what do you think? Does that do an okay job of encapsulating everything?
Yeah, 100%. And then I would say too, just like you kind of mentioned it with the long-term projects, but like planning camp. Like that's, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure we'll talk about it in future episodes. Like August is a huge month for us because it's the only part of the recruiting calendar where for, a recruiting department, it's A, a dead period, and B, a time where the coaches are mainly focusing on football. Like that's the only time all year that we get that. So it's really important for us to be able to have long-term projects that we're ready to rip, like talk about what we want to get done that month and have a plan going in because each day is so imperative that you have production on production on production because you're not really weighed down with other stuff. So that's another thing that we've been doing is kind of planning out day by day how training camp is going to go and kind of what we want to accomplish and when are good goals to accomplish with those. And obviously for me personally, like my first year being here, like it's always kind of, I think, a little bit tougher going in with a new department to kind of set what that barometer is going to be, what you can kind of expect in terms of production, from a different group in a different setting with a different staff, things of that nature. But it's been really good. And I think kind of the more I get into that, try to detach from it as much as I can. But like the more I get into that part, the more I kind of get excited for all the fun stuff that we'll be able to kind of unleash upon in August.
Well, you,
Yeah.
you just mentioned the recruiting calendar. Kind of take us through that. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have like 2 to 3 different classes you're working on at once and can get super confusing. You have the
Well,
27 class, 28 class.
Yeah, it's
Take
a
us
little bit
where
of a
you are now,
balance.
how that builds to where it will be.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
I
little
would
bit of a
say,
balance. Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead, Caleb.
I I would say you kind of hit the nail on the head where you're really focused on three, I guess you could call it classes at once, because that's for us the 2027 class, the 2028 class, and then also you kind of mix in the transfer portal class that you're getting ready for while also evaluating your team. So there's almost like the college scouting side that's going on 24/7 combined with recruiting the current and the next high school recruiting classes.
Yeah, that's a
And then
big thing that we're going to knock out in August is, from a college scouting standpoint, like what are the important things that we need to be aware of going into each season? What are we monitor, each week of the season, like what are we monitoring? What are we looking to see? Uh those are kind of some new things that we're doing that, again, like kind of work totally different than the high school side, but like also in conjunction.
Yeah. And
and this is where, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kylie.
no, keep going, keep going.
I was just gonna say this is where we kind of start to put our guardrails ahead for what the future seasons of Aztec football look like. So a lot of this self scouting as we're looking at our current roster, it's okay, what are some holes that we project we're gonna have a year from now. So again, it's nothing focused on this season and this year's team. It's more about, okay, what are we going to have to attack for next year's transfer portal class? What are we going to have to attack in the future? Who are some young guys that we think are going to ascend into those starting roles? And you're always doing that planning to where you can kind of project what your 3-year outlook looks like as a program. Like, where are we going to have success right now? What do we need to do to have success next year? And what are some of those key things going on to make sure we have sustained success 3 years from now?
Yeah. And on top of just staying organized, because that's a lot in itself, and that's only a very small portion of your job. What happens when those things that you project don't go to plan? What does that kind of look like? How do you make sure not to kind of just throw in the towel and give up? Because that's
Mm.
huge.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say it's a little bit about having a really, really good pulse on the situation. That's where, again, me and Sam have talked about it a million times on this podcast. Open, honest, genuine conversations, both with the staff, with the players. So we'll even talk to some guys like, hey, we think you're a young kid, you got talent, but you got to keep developing in these areas if you want to be a starter one day. But on the vice versa, if you got an all conference player that other programs might be trying to poach from you a year from now, you have those conversations where it's like, hey, where are you going to be at here in 6 months if the season goes this way? Or it might be a bye week conversation or right after last game of the season. So that way, as you're making these projections, it's not just one end all be all. This is what it looks like. It's, hey, you've got contingency plans for this situation, this situation, this situation. So you almost have, I mean, probably somewhere between 4 to 5 different projections happening at the same time.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah, and that's why I think being process oriented matters so much, because that way you have a plan of, if X doesn't work, then we're going to Y. Like, if Y doesn't work, we're going to X. You never have an over reliance on one player or one individual decision, and there's always a next up option followed by a next up option followed by a, if all three of these don't hit, this is where we're going to pivot. So that in kind of doing it, you're always prepared, because obviously this is a expect the unexpected type of business. And if you're like not able to think on your feet and be available at a moment's notice when something crazy happens, then it's usually tough to have success.
Yeah.
And the other point too is, as it relates to, the high school side of things, once we start to get into camp, we're obviously finishing up, our senior, right, the high school senior class, the class of 2027, right? We have a good amount of commits now, and we feel really excited about what that class is looking like. And then there's the matter of, there's always going to be those couple guys that, show out and have a fantastic senior year, and, guys that could be great additions to the class based on what they did for, that year. That's the year that, the evaluation most often correlates into their college performance. And then there's the other side of monitoring those players in the following class that are going to be the ones that, maybe we didn't know about them after their sophomore year for whatever reason. The junior year is a massive year in the evaluation process. And so it's being on top of that as well, because with two different classes, you're basically going in two different directions versus to, like, how you set the stage for building them. And one of them, it's closing it down and adding some pieces and doing whatever you need to do to finish the job. And in the other one, right, it's basically getting the foundation started and making sure that you're building the relationships with the right players early, and you're starting to do enough filtering so that, you're prepared as you get into travel in the winter.
You just mentioned how important the junior class is for a recruit in high school. I mean, is there any stories you two have of you've seen a high school athlete his junior year and you're like, we got to get him. This could be over your time at different schools as well, and you were successful in that?
Wait, did I just go out, or did Jack just go out?
I think I went out. Sorry, I was just asking, do you guys have stories by chance of a high school player his junior year that you're like, we got to get this guy, and you were successful? Or maybe a story of being unsuccessful and you had the pivot?
Listeners, by the way, we are fighting an internet war right now. We are in World War III against the internet.
We're all over the world right
So
now.
we are doing our very best.
The first online podcast where it's not in person, but
I know we need like a sponsorship with like Comcast or something, or AT&T. Maybe we could give us like each a hotspot for the next episode. I could give you a couple of different examples, Jack. Like there are certain players that, you watch someone's junior film and you see such a jump, Caleb. Like, I'm curious how you see it, but when I look at junior film, like trying to like top down, regardless of position, regardless of area, all that type of stuff. For me, there's a huge value in having watched their sophomore film before you look at the junior film, because the comparison between those to me is really important. Like, there's some players that you see such a jump between their sophomore and junior year, and upon background, you're figuring out, kind of trying to get an assessment for kind of what that jump looks like, right? Maybe their sophomore year was their first year playing football, right? Maybe they got a whole new different coaching staff that's well and established and they're starting to learn the game, right? Maybe they had some sort of like, financial, kind of tough background where, they weren't able to show up for a lot of team activities sophomore year, and like junior year that changes and like look how they explode, right? Like maybe it's one or two transfers where they've seen what it looks like from one or two players that are going to play high level college football, and all of a sudden that light switches on if they see, oh, that can be me as well, and then they kind of start to show up from a work ethic standpoint. Like those guys that make such a big jump, those are the guys that you really see right away, like, oh, I really need to be on this guy, because now you're seeing that same type of jump, as it goes from junior to senior year. And a lot of times the guys that, kind of have those uh massive sparks in their recruitment over the course of a spring or a summer, even going into their senior year, are the ones that have that jump between their sophomore and junior year, that if you can kind of, that whenever teams basically start to see that and then start to connect that to the reason why, that's when their recruitment will go just take right off. And those are the guys that you're really looking for. And the whole goal of the game is, can you find those guys before somebody else?
Yeah,
That's the
and
fun part for me.
I'd say that junior year is kind of where like the traits, the production, and the projection really starts to stabilize. So when we say it stabilizes, that doesn't mean okay, what you get junior year is what you're getting senior year, but whatever jump they made sophomore to junior years, you can start to find out the why. You may be able to project a similar jump into their senior tape, but the picture, like you almost got to think of it as like one of those pictures that as it goes on, it gets less and less foggy. So the junior years where it goes from this super pixelated image where you can't make anything out of it to now you're starting to see what the picture is, and then the senior year kind of finishes everything off. But the junior year you typically figure out what their frame is actually going to end up being able to carry, whether you're projecting maybe a safety to be a linebacker in college, or a defensive end to be a defensive tackle. Like you start to see those things for what they are. And again, it's where everything starts to stabilize, the picture gets a little bit more clear, and then you can kind of project. Like there's a lot of guys who make that jump junior year, and it's like, oh yeah, their senior year is going to even be better because they're going to gain 10 more pounds, they're going to get a little bit faster. So that's the really really cool thing, and it's why being on top of our local kids the best way possible. Like we're not going to be ready to pull the trigger on every single San Diego kid that has a good sophomore year, but as long as we have them on our list and we're tracking these top 50 guys in the area, top 150 guys in the SoCal area, now you can start to really see the whole list as again, I've said it a million times already, but as that picture starts to get a little bit clearer, junior year really stabilizes a lot of those things.
Yeah, I think of it like you're putting a puzzle together, and you're kind of
Mhm.
like finding the pieces, right? And like any experienced puzzle doer would tell you, right, is you get the outside part of the square first, and then you slowly kind of focus on different pictures within the top of the box. And like in a lot of senses, that's kind of how you're doing it. And one of those main pictures, right, of course, is the junior year, how well they play, and kind of what the progression is from sophomore to junior year. So like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a massive part of it. And
And
go ahead.
oh, no, no, no. I was going to switch gears real quick, so you keep going.
Yeah, so like there's always those players that go from nothing to something almost in the drop of a hat, and you're kind of sitting there as a certain school saying, this guy's definitely got the traits. I like a lot of, certain things he does on film. Is he well rounded enough to play for us? Can he do this? Can he fit in this role? Right? You're asking all these questions, and you'll ask that for a week and a half, and then bam, there will be 8 teams in your conference that have offered that player, and you'll be like,
Hmm.
and
And
that's usually kind of how it goes, especially for that next class in. For us, that would be the 28s.
and that's where switching gears a little bit, like part of the reason why that picture grows more and more clear as kind of as you track these recruitments, it's really how their recruitments develop. Because really, on average, again, it's different where you are, it's different with the kid. Nothing's completely the same way. But you typically start to get kids on campus maybe after their senior year, maybe that spring going into their junior year, and then you start to get a verified height weight on them, and then maybe you invite them out to camp. So now your 2028 recruits are at your camp, and you get verified 40 time on them. You get to see them work out live, and then as their junior year starts to develop, and they come out for another game day visit, and you realize, oh, he grew half an inch from his spring to his junior year. All those things get clearer and clearer, and then again it's a constant race for information, because as soon as you can confirm whatever his talents are, his traits are that you see on film, and as soon as you can maybe like answer the question marks he did have, that's where the January recruiting where you go out and see them on the road, and the spring recruiting where you get to work them out a little bit and see them in their spring football practices. All those things start to come together, and then it develops into what your recruiting board is and those summer official visits.
And
Over
then
the course of the season, you gather names, and then within each checkpoint, you're basically kind of just trying to get an assessment of A, is this real, and B, is this worth our time as a program, right? Um, if a kid wants to come on campus, like, do you really have to pull teeth for a kid to like want to come on campus just to see a football game, right? Like at this level of ball, like a kid should at least have some sort of interest in that. If you have to pull teeth now, how much you're going to have to pull later, right? Like you're thinking about all those answers. Like, is the kid enthusiastic about our coaches showing up to like see him in person when we can in January? Now that the calendar's changed, within the last couple of years, we can actually go to the school and have conversations with that kid, right? We used to not be able to do that. Like, is that kid going to be excited for that? Is the player's family going to be excited for that? Are they preparing to come watch us practice in the spring? Are they asking the right questions? Do we get a sense that they're going to kind of fit us, right? It's each big point in the schedule. It's almost like a checkpoint for us to try to see like, okay, is this working thus far, or does it make more sense? If you guys remember our talk from a month ago about opportunity cost, or does it make more sense for us to go in another direction and not waste as much time with this because it doesn't feel as possible, maybe is the right word.
And,
uh
and those are just as much character checkpoints as they are talent checkpoints.
Right, more so. Yeah.
Yeah.
before we get back to Inside the Climb, we want to remind you that the countdown to San Diego State football is officially on.
This season marks the beginning of a new era as the Aztecs prepare for their first year in the new Pac-12 conference.
The home schedule is finalized. It all starts with Portland State before one of the nation's top Group of 5 programs from last season, James Madison, comes to Snapdragon Stadium.
Then conference play arrives with Texas State, Washington State, Utah State, and the rivalry game against the team up north.
And don't forget, Pac-12 After Dark is coming to the Mesa. Big games, packed crowds, and a chance to be part of history as San Diego State begins its new chapter.
Don't miss a moment. Secure your season tickets today and be there for every touchdown, every big play, and every unforgettable night under the lights.
Visit the SDSU Athletics website or click the link in the show notes to get your season tickets now. Caleb, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but how much do you guys really look at star rankings of a player, like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, right? Because I know that's up for debate on even
Not at all.
how accurate that is, right?
Oh, I tell
Not
you
at all.
this.
I mean, go ahead,
we
Sam.
we love those guys that rank the players. They do a phenomenal job at every site. You think you are sweet if you have this highly ranked kid, or you're not offering this guy because he's not ranked incredibly highly, and those rankings will change tomorrow, and now you look silly. So like you can't operate that way. I mean, there was a young player that obviously I can't mention his name, but that we recruited at my other spot that was incredibly low ranked. We were debating if the guy was gonna end up being a player that we could recruit. It kind of fit my example earlier. Liked a lot of the traits. We're trying to see how well-rounded of a prospect he was. Could he have position versatility? Could he help us in different facets of the game? What kind of kid was he? All those different types of things. And that kid was maybe a 2.5 star, and like, bam, now the kid is absurdly highly ranked. And I say absurdly highly as a compliment to him, but like, I would have never guessed at that time that that kid would have been a 5 star. And that's how it goes, is you don't judge it off the rankings, because you never know how those are going to twist and turn. And now that those crews, they do an awesome job at 247 and Rivals, at going to all the
Great.
camps, they go to the combines, they rank the kids, they get better and better and better at it. So like, those rankings update all the time, and like, don't be lost and playing from behind, because you're looking at a ranking that will be updated again in the future.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing that, again, I think people don't realize outside looking in is Sam hit on it. They do a great job. A lot of those guys are resources we use in the industry, to whether it's track a kid's recruitment or just have a relationship with them, and maybe we weren't able to see a kid out of state, but he saw him at a camp. Like, we pick their brains on a lot of things, but it's not about the rankings or the stars or any of that, because again, like Sam talked about, it changes all the time. Doesn't matter when you recruit him, if he was a 5 star and he ends up being a 3 star, if he was a 3 star, ends up being a 5 star, like, none of that's stable. And I've always said, like, at the end of the day, we want to run our program. I know Coach Lewis agrees with what we believe in. I've always said, if we get fired, and I get fired because I wasn't good enough, but I stood on the table and I believed in every single kid we brought in, I can go to bed and put my head down on the pillow and go to sleep at night feeling okay about what I did. But if I ever get fired about someone else's opinion, and I just, listen to the media or listen to this or that, then I'm going to be sitting down there kicking myself, like, I didn't do the
Yeah,
best job as a leader of this
that's
program, as a
nightmare
general
fuel.
manager. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Like,
total
that's
nightmare fuel.
that's where you
What's
see
it
a
called?
lot of
New
people.
fear unlocked. That's
Yeah.
what all the kids say.
Yeah.
New fear unlocked.
But
Well,
that's where a lot of people make slip ups in the industry, is they don't believe in themselves as much as they should.
and I mean, the reason I really bring that up is I feel like for a casual fan, that's the best way to see a recruiting class in full for whatever your favorite college football team, in this case, SDSU. Before we get back to the show, we want to tell you all about the best way to stay connected with everything happening around San Diego State athletics and Aztec football.
That's right. If you're enjoying the We Believe Players podcast, there's even more content waiting for you through the We Believe Network Substack.
A subscription gives you access to every episode of the We Believe Players podcast, plus exclusive featured stories on current SDSU athletes and future Aztecs.
You'll also get recruiting coverage all year long. We're talking high school player tracking, player performances, recruiting rankings, official visit updates, commitment news, and much more.
If you want a deeper look into the players, the program, and the future of Aztec football, this is where you need to be.
And the best part, it's just $6.99 per month, which is less than the cost of a drink on game day.
Getting signed up is easy. Just click the link in the description of this episode or the link in our social media bios.
Once you're there, hit the subscribe button and you'll instantly have access to all the content.
Exclusive podcasts, player stories, recruiting intel, behind-the-scenes coverage, and year-round updates from around the Mesa.
It's the easiest way to support the We Believe network while staying connected to the athletes, coaches, and recruits shaping the future of SDSU athletics.
Again, for just $6.99 a month, you'll never miss a story.
Subscribe today through the link in the description or our bios.
We'll see you on the We Believe Network, and right back to the show.
And if you're a fan, that is kind of a, it's a fair way to kind of go about and get a, top down bird's eye view assessment for kind of how your program is recruiting. It's different when you're inside the walls, but like, from that perspective, it makes sense to look at those and use them as kind of a barometer.
No,
I mean-
that makes total sense.
Everything you've been saying, like, I've just been sitting here thinking that's like, your job is so hard. Like, you have all these numbers, you have all these assessments, but it's like, you can't go off of that. You have to go off of yourself and your gut instinct and not the media, which is so crazy. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that because they see what you're doing and maybe think like, oh, he looked at 247 and they just picked like the top 50 guys, which is the complete, like, not opposite, but just not exactly what you did.
Yeah, Kylie, like the beautiful thing about what we do is that everybody can like have an opinion. You know, I love the fact that like we'll sign a player or we'll have, like for a bunch of the guys that have committed, in June, they'll post something and some random user on Twitter will comment like, "Oh, I watched this film. Like, I think he does a great job here."
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like everybody can do this. Everybody can have an opinion, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. But you also have to have some confidence in yourself for like how you see it, because this isn't like we're not like doctors here. Everybody can like watch film and have an opinion of their own, but it's like how are you going to go about you know trying to build it? And of course, that's why like you got to stand on what you think and you got to trust your instincts. And like when we teach evaluation to student interns and people that have worked for us, you know, the only wrong opinion is not having an opinion.
Hmm.
You have to know, it's almost like learning a language and then you're speaking that language. Doesn't mean you have to agree in that language. People can be smart and people could be stupid in any language, but you got to kind of know how to speak the language so that you develop these people's ability to just have their own opinion. And like how do you go about finding that? Because in a world where everybody has an opinion on something, I could go about, and if I really wanted to, I could do my job based on other people's opinions, but that's only going to get you so far. So that's like the biggest part of teaching someone how to evaluate is teaching them how to actually develop their own opinion in a world where everybody has opinions and you can easily find them.
Dang.
And how do you go against the grain? Like that's been,
Yeah.
I think if you ask people in personnel, it's kind of the hardest part in their career is like you find that player that you really like or you have a certain trait that you like. Like how do you go about explaining that to a bunch of like grown adults that disagree with you when there's every bit of information on the internet that denounces your opinion that anyone can just turn to, you know. That's a tough world,
Yeah.
you know.
Life lesson
Totally.
of the day right there.
Yeah, no,
It's
for
it's
real.
interesting, makes it fun.
And look who's back.
Back. Apologies, guys. I
Oh,
don't know when I got put
yeah.
out there.
Or I
So
don't
that,
know. What language do they speak in Switzerland? Like, do most people speak English?
where we're at, it's a lot of English, but like we haven't ran into an issue yet where we couldn't get out of because people didn't speak English.
'Cause I'm expecting you to like come back and speak like 9 different languages.
No, no, you're backwards on that one. I promise you. But no, sorry about that, guys. But we're back.
No,
Hopped
it's
on
all
Oh,
my
you're
good.
good.
computer. We're all
Well, like
good
I
now.
said, we don't want to keep you guys too long. We know you guys are kind of on your vacations right now, but maybe just to end things off, could you talk about the most recent recruiting class you guys just kind of finished up there? What you guys are looking forward to with them? What would it be going into the 2027 season?
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
talking about the guys that just joined us in June,
Yeah.
like the incoming freshmen. Yeah.
Or
are
or
you saying
or
the high school recruiting class or the incomers?
you guys just finished up the incomers,
So
but you also got the 2027, correct?
so
You just
27s we're not allowed to officially talk
okay.
about until
No worries.
signing day in December.
No
So
worries.
I'm sure I would love a
Then let's talk about
signing day podcast
2026.
where it's a full on signing day special. We unleash
Let's do
it
it.
day of and we go through it. So we're gonna have to hold comments on those guys. But it may be a good segue into our current freshman class because there's been a
100%.
few on campus already that are doing a really, really good job that we're excited about. So I guess I'll start us off. First off, we've got a lot of kids that again are really flashing early on special teams. So I think the Aztec fan base can look forward to. We got a local safety, Camp Purnell from Lincoln High School. That's done a lot of really good things. Has gained some weight since he's been here. In the same position room, Taino Olave has been a really really good addition. Kid from Hawaii that super excited about. Wired the right way, running around. Another local kid, Carson Deal, receiver out of La Jolla. He's one that again I think has flashed a lot and some limited opportunities, and I think special teams is where he may be able to really make a name for himself early. But I guess Sam, I don't want to take away all the guys. Anyone impress you so far?
No, they've all done a great job. I think there's a ton of really good pieces within, that class that, will fill some areas of need this year. I think we'll have a lot of guys that, really help us out in complementary roles. There could be some guys that, compete for a lot bigger roles on our team this upcoming season. I'm excited to watch them all in camp. Like, obviously a little bit biased towards the guys that have been here and were early enrollees. Like, I thought Dom Quello, Elijah Lash, like those guys have done a great job. But I'm really excited to, I don't want to kind of highlight some of the other guys that have gotten here in the summer yet, because obviously their story in a lot of ways is still largely unwritten. And I'm excited to kind of see what they've done in camp. But the thing that I really like is, those guys are wide-eyed. They're eager to learn. They're excited to go about the process. They're working every day, and they have all kind of come in with the mindset of just being ready to learn something different. That's the biggest area where freshmen struggle in our world. Is they have wonderful coaches and trainers back home, but sometimes they come in, and no matter where you go in college football, you're going to have to learn to do things in a different way. And that's for staff going from team to team. That's for players getting traded, right, in the professional level. It's the same thing, and even more so going from high school to college. So those guys have all come in ready to learn something different. They've done a great job in the weight room. And I'm really excited when we kind of have this episode in a couple weeks into camp to really highlight some guys that have started to separate themselves when the pads come on.
Yeah.
I think Sam hit on it a little bit. My favorite thing from the class so far is just how connected they are and how hardworking they are. Like, they're around all the time. There's a lot of freshmen that typically don't know what it's actually like to be a college football player. So they don't realize, like, oh, every ounce of free time I get, like, maybe I should carve out, 30 minutes where I ask one of the older guys, hey, can you sit in the film room with me and show me this technique? Like, our guys have gotten it. Our guys are about it. They love the game of football. And that's one of those traits that, again, you go through the recruiting process, and that's one of the biggest things we're always looking for. Like, obviously, traits you can see on film, frame, you measure, you see in person, but how much do they really love football is one of those questions that can stump you a little bit, just with, again, how much they've been around it. But that's the one thing I've been really, really proud of. I think this group loves football as much as any of the classes I've ever been around.
We leave, in the end of June, as they've been, about 2 weeks on campus, still getting their feet under them. And the fun part is, like, when we come back, and I've, you've been in the office a little bit over the last week, like, just seeing them kind of before the break for July 4th, like how, now a lot of them are just starting to fit in like normal players. And then, like, once the staff's all fully back at the end of the month, you all of a sudden, bam, close your eyes, blink, and those guys are just normal, living, breathing football players on our team. And it's exciting to see that they've been able to kind of acclimate pretty quickly. And I'm excited for it's gonna look like when they're just fitting in as normal.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's really fun.
Well, it sounds like our Aztec fans have a lot to look forward to this upcoming season. And I think
1000%.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us on your vacation. It means a lot to us, and this episode
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Just let me know if I got to hop back on and fill in some gaps as we go through with the editing process. Cause
we'll be just fine. We'll make it look like there was no internet issue.
I really appreciate you guys.
If you're an internet company and you want to get your name out there,
we got you.
We're looking for a top tier sponsor. We just need 4 Wi-Fi hotspot boxes shipped at your earliest convenience.
Beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today on our episode podcast of Inside the Climb, and we look forward to joining you guys next week. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Caleb, have fun in Switzerland and then going to Italy as well.
Appreciate you.
Ciao, dude.
Yeah, you better be able to speak Italian when you come back. I'll practice.
Grazie. There we go.
Alrighty.
Nice.
Thank you. That's all I got.
That's awesome.
That's all I'm going to have.